Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel and to a kind of solo session on my knit and chat series. It's a really beautiful day outside today in the Arctic Circle of Norway where I live. And yeah, I just figured I would just do some knitting outside and chat with you guys and just catch up. So yeah, grab your knitting, grab your beverage of choice, and join me for some very casual knitting and chatting. I have a little beverage. It's not alcoholic today. It's apple juice mixed with seltzer water for hydration purposes. I am 35 weeks and some change pregnant. So I figured today we could just knit and chat a little bit about the pregnancy, baby knitting, just a lot of stuff that I've had on my mind about the future, because things are going to change quite a bit in the next couple of weeks. So that's very exciting and very scary at the same time. So I just was going to talk to you guys a little bit about where I'm at, just with all of that going on, with that huge life change that's coming up. Oh, and she's moving. That happens so much nowadays. And what I'm working on today, while I chat with you guys, is the it's the ruffle dress by Knitting for Olive. So I don't think I've shown this to you guys before on my podcast, but this is how far I've gotten into it. I'm working on the little skirt portion of the body. And I'm working on it in this really, really pretty Knitting for Olive merino. It's 100% merino wool. It's a fingering weight yarn. I picked it up actually when I visited Copenhagen, when my cousin still lived there with his family. We stopped by the Knitting for Olive store and picked up enough yarn to make it was the olive sweater my size, and the Barbro blouse. So this was originally meant for the Barbro blouse for me, and I just never cast it on. I bought the pattern and everything. I never cast it on, and then 2 years later I got pregnant. So if you know, I'll put a picture of the Barbro blouse somewhere, or I'll link it in the description below so you can take a look at it if you're interested. But it's a very tight blouse, and like I'm going to talk about a little bit today, I didn't want to knit it for myself because I, first of all, couldn't wear it immediately, and I like instant gratification kind of with my knitting. I like to be able to wear it right away, and I also figured this is the color unicorn purple, and I'm having a little girl, and it just seemed perfect. So I just decided to make something for her instead. So we are working on the the ruffle dress by Knitting for Olive today. And there's a lot of seagulls flying around. I hope none of them attacks me. I think they've made their nests now. Speaking of babies, the seagulls in Tromsø, the place where I live, they make their nests on top of buildings, and then they get really aggressive when you are near their nest. And sometimes, like last year, they made their nest right on top of our front porch. We lived in a different place back then. So we came back from Japan and the seagull chicks had hatched, and we had no idea that there was a nest on top of our porch. And we kept being dive bombed by this mom seagull, and we could not understand for the life of us, by we and us and all, I mean my husband and I, Kevin. We used to do the knit and chats together, but he is extremely busy, so he hasn't really had time. So it's just me. You're just stuck with me today. But yeah, we could not understand why she was being so aggressive. And then one day we saw the little chicks. They had fallen out of the nest, and they were living on the driveway. So that was kind of, I guess what happens is they fall out of the nest, but they don't exactly die, because they can like flutter a little bit as they reach the ground, but they can't get back to the nest. So they just live on the ground until they are ready to fly. So yeah, leaving our house was a bit difficult that season. And so I'm really hoping they haven't made a nest on our roof. I'm not allowed at this point in my pregnancy to climb the ladder and see if they have nested on our roof. I have sent Kevin up there a few times and he hasn't seen any nests. But yeah, I really hope that there's nothing there, because that would be kind of tragic. I really, really want to be able to use this balcony to get some fresh air when I am immediately postpartum. Because I mean, we are in the middle, well, no, I'm due in July. So right now we're in the middle of this period that is called midnattssol, or midnight sun. And that is 24-hour sunlight. So I've talked a lot on my channel about 24-hour darkness in the Arctic Circle, which is where the sun does not come up over the horizon for a couple months. So you essentially get 24-hour darkness. And we have the exact opposite in the summer, where the sun never goes below the horizon, so you get 24-hour sunlight. And that is what we have currently. And when you live in a house, like a house, like a detached, separate, it isn't so bad. But when you live in an apartment, because it's you have so many windows, which I really do appreciate. I love getting natural light into our home. But it also gets really, really warm because you're just constantly, like 24/7, you're getting sunlight through the windows, which I never, ever thought I would complain about during the 24-hour darkness, because I miss the sun so much it physically hurt. But now it's just, I didn't realize that pregnancy would make me so sensitive to the heat. So I get so warm when I'm inside. And I would love to be able to go out onto our balcony and just sit there and bring baby out in her little baby Björn and maybe keep her in the shade, or put a sun hat and some sunglasses on her when she's old enough, obviously. I don't know how old that is. See, that's like the thing that's kind of scary about the pregnancy coming to an end, is I feel like now I know so much about pregnancy. I've researched so much about what happens, like where is baby's development at these different stages, and like what's happening to your body, and you know, like what can you expect and what can you do to make it better. And I feel like I know nothing about children, about newborns, about like, oh, at what point can you do this with them, and like at what point can they be outside, and how long can they, and I know that I will learn, but there just seems to be so much information out there, like to swaddle or not to swaddle, or like, oh, how much milk or formula should they be drinking, and what outputs do you need to monitor, and like what do you need to look for developmentally, and it's all so overwhelming. Especially when you're also thinking about, I haven't even started, I think I've like blocked out the whole idea of labor and delivery, because I know that like she's a honeydew melon this week. That's her fruit of the week. It's kind of funny to think of her as a honeydew melon, but eventually this little honeydew melon is going to have to come out one way or the other, and she'll probably be a bigger fruit when she does. So yeah, I don't even want to think about it. I feel like part of me is just so done with the pregnancy at this point. We knew we were pregnant from like 4 weeks, because it was very planned. So I was kind of like, I was like counting down the days until I could take a test. So I knew very, very early in the pregnancy that I was pregnant. So it's felt like I've just been pregnant for my entire life at this point. It feels like I have never not been pregnant. And you know how, like the first trimester, I was so sick. I couldn't get out of bed. I have naturally low blood pressure, so I would get very, very dizzy. I would feel faint. I'd feel lightheaded because my blood pressure would tank even lower. Because, I'm not a medical doctor, so I can't exactly say why, but I think what it was like because I have an increased blood volume, because, everything that goes on with pregnancy, right? So like my already low blood pressure got even lower. And then, I couldn't get out of bed, essentially. But it did get better in the second trimester. I was very active. We went to the US, which I think really, really helped with my weight gain, because there was so much food that I was craving, and you can't find any of it in Northern Norway. For some reason, it was Taco Bell for me. I don't know why. It's Taco Bell, right? Like, why was I craving it so badly? But I just really, really wanted Taco Bell. And we have nothing like it. They do have a restaurant in Oslo. It's called Freddy Fuegos. It's like this kind of what is it called? Like American, Mexican, like fast casual, not even fast casual, just like fast food type of joint. I'm just like staring at the seagull. There's a seagull on our roof over there, so I'm like making sure it doesn't attack me. But yeah, there's like this fast casual place called Freddy Fuegos, and they came up for 1 week in the third trimester as part of a food truck festival, and I ate there like every day. It was super expensive, but it was so worth it, because that was all I wanted. And poor Kevin, he's the cook in our family. He makes, one time in the first trimester, I was even craving enchiladas, beef and bean enchiladas. And obviously you cannot find refried beans in the grocery stores here. They don't come in the same cans. And you also can't find the red enchilada sauce that you get, like the pre-made enchilada sauce. So poor Kevin made refried beans and enchilada sauce from scratch. And I was so grateful to him for doing that, for putting up with all my cravings, especially when it was like super hard to eat. But it's just not the same, it's like, I don't know what preservatives they put in fast food, but that is what I was craving. So when I was in the States, I did a lot of just eating junk. And I know you're not supposed, you're supposed to have this like healthy pregnancy diet, but I legitimately was not gaining weight. So I just kind of figured I will eat whatever I want. And at least I will put on some pounds. And I did. I gained weight in the US, and then I haven't really gained weight since. So that's probably a good thing that I just kind of went nuts when I was there. Because, I do not really crave anything that I can access here. So what I do instead is I just eat really healthy food. And then I eat the same amount that I ate pre-pregnancy. And I guess because I'm burning extra calories growing a baby, then that means she's gaining weight, sure, but she's depleting from my fat stores, or whatever is happening, because somehow whatever weight, because she's fine, she's doing great, but whatever weight she's gaining clearly is being offset from me somehow. So that was something. That was a nice vacation to bulk up, and obviously not just that, but to see family, which was it was so funny, because I felt so bad. I was obviously very, very excited to see my family. This is my parents' first grandchild, so I know they were excited too, but it was hard, because it was I just couldn't hide my excitement about all the food. And it was oh, I'm happy to see you guys too, but also take me to Chipotle, please, immediately from the airport. So the second trimester was a great time, and then the third trimester hit, and oh my gosh, you guys, no one prepared me for this. I knew it would suck. I knew it would be okay, it'll go back to basically what the first trimester was, right? You feel sick, you feel nauseous, you don't really want to do anything. And that is what happened, but it also came with all these aches and pains. My hips are perpetually swollen. turning I get all these videos recommended to me on Facebook now, just about pregnancy, because the algorithm knows that that's what I like to watch, I guess. So like, I've been getting all these videos, like what people think is actually hard during pregnancy, and it's like working out and all these fun things. And then it's like, what's actually hard? And it's like rolling over in bed. And oh my gosh, that could not be more true. Yeah, it is super hard. It's hard to sleep. The first trimester, I was just sleeping all the time. Like, it felt like I could sleep 14 hours a day, and it still wasn't enough. But in the third trimester, like, I am lucky if I get 6, even interrupted hours of sleep a day. Like, it's really hard. I didn't anticipate that it would be so hard to sleep. But it's because, like, my hips hurt so much when I sleep. I don't know if it's like the way I do have a pregnancy pillow. So I use that, but it's still so uncomfortable. And it's not even just the discomfort when I'm sleeping. It's like, at least in the first trimester, I could still wear my clothes, and my jackets could still close up. I'm very lucky that the third trimester is in the summer, because that means that I don't really have to close my jackets, and we're having a good summer, thankfully. So some summers in the Arctic are not very summery. They're very chilly, they're very rainy. I remember last year, like, it was snowing when June started, and oh my god, I would have been so sad if that had happened this year. But we've had a really, really nice summer. It's been sunny, it's been warm. There have been great, like, we have a great balcony space. You can't see it all, but it's quite large. There's enough room to stretch out. There's enough room to sit out here and knit. I haven't had seagulls attacking me just yet, knock on wood. So it has been really, really nice. But still, like, my clothes don't fit me, obviously. I bought a fair amount of maternity clothes when I was around week 2021, something like that, like when I was in the States, because they just have a better selection of maternity wear over there. So I figured I would just buy most of my maternity clothes when I was there and then just bring them back. And then everyone is like, oh, buy the maternity size that corresponds to your pre-maternity size. So I did, and they fit great at like 20 to 27 weeks. And now everything is just so tight and so uncomfortable. And it's like, it was Father's Day in the US last Sunday as I record this. And so I wanted to do something for Kevin because it was his first Father's Day. Like, I don't know if that really counts, but he did something for Mother's Day for me this year, because I guess I'm like a half-baked mom, just like she's baking, and so I'm baking as a mom too. But yeah, it is kind of like, because I've been carrying her around, I've been, as far as I can do it, at least trying to put her needs above everything else, because she needs to grow and develop and be healthy. And so he celebrated me for Mother's Day, and I wanted to celebrate him for Father's Day because he has just been so supportive and very involved in the whole process, and he just absolutely cannot wait for her to be here so that he can just like love on her all the time. So I embroidered some matching clothes for Kevin and baby, and I wanted to take him out and get him like a coffee or something later in the day. But then I looked at my closet and I had a breakdown because I was like, oh, I look so frumpy in everything that I have in here. It just looks so bad. So that's been like a kind of a very, like a thread running throughout the entire third trimester that hasn't really been there before. Is like, obviously I know I look pregnant at this point. I don't just look like I'm, carrying around, I don't know, like my abdomen is just not like distended. It's clearly a baby, but even still, it's like, I don't know. I feel so unattractive, and it's part of like, I mean, I'm waddling as well. I waddle everywhere now because my hips are so sore, so so we're waddling. And then like, I think what happens, at least I've been told, with the hormones during pregnancy is like you have very low serotonin during the first trimester, and then it kind of like jumps up a bit. So the second trimester is kind of you're happy, you're enjoying yourself as much as you can, I guess. You're eating whatever you want because you don't feel bad about it because you're pregnant, like you deserve it. And then the third trimester is kind of like a hormone crash again. So yeah, my hormones have crashed. And so I get a lot of mood swings. And I've kind of apologized to him in advance because it's like, I'm really sorry that you have to put up with the Sammy theatrics. But yeah, it's just the hormones. And I think it's also the hormones that are like, I mean, first of all, it's like, I mean, I know it's, you know, you can't really, like, you grow a baby from scratch, which is an amazing, amazing thing. I am constantly in awe that my body can do it. And obviously this baby is planned. She is going to be very loved by, I mean, both of us, obviously, and our families. And we have great maternity leave here in Norway. So I will get 6 months off of work, essentially, and then Kevin will take, I think, like 5 or so months or something, and then I get like a little bit of extra time after that, and then we can take out unpaid leave if we want. At any point until she turns 3, we have like a quota of it. So as far as everything is set up, it's like, it's very, very nice. It's very, we've thought this out. We are kind of ready, and so it feels like kind of ungrateful to be complaining about it, especially when it's like, I mean, it's pregnancy, right? It's like you're supposed to, like, the miracle of life. You're growing a human, but yeah, it's not rainbows and daisies. It's pretty rough. I don't know. I think it's just been a little harder emotionally than I expected it to be. I did not think that I would, because I don't know if I've just had like a very good body image up till now, but like I've never looked in the mirror before and not liked what I saw. And now all of a sudden it's like I don't even recognize the person looking back at me. Like I don't know, this is something apparently that happens to women when they're pregnant, and it's kind of like, it's a mix of, I don't know if you can hear, those are seagull moms talking to their chicks as we talk about pregnancy. But yeah, I've heard that like it's because of the raging hormones and all the shifting that's happening inside of you, and it's like it'll take up to 2 years after birth for you to fully feel like yourself again. And that's kind of started already, where it's like I don't recognize myself. I don't feel like myself. I mean, in a way I kind of do, but like it's very different. Like I don't even know how to describe it. I keep blaming it too on the fact that I got a haircut, which is kind of silly. But I would not, okay, so like to you out there who are pregnant or planning to be moms, I would say change the least about your appearance as you can, just to feel, you know, because I got a haircut right before I popped, and I got it cut quite short. And so not only did I not recognize my body, but I also had a really hard time recognizing my face. Like it felt like everything about me just changed all at once. And so I would not recommend doing that if you can avoid it. Just wait until after you have the kid. I was just very, very overeager for the mom chop. But yeah, I mean, I definitely did not need the mom chop in the second trimester. I needed the mom chop postpartum, maybe, if that. I mean, my hair was like long enough that it went into a claw clip, and I think that would have been fine. So I will not be, I don't know, I think I've associated short hair with like feeling down on myself about my body image. So I probably will not be getting a mom job. After she's born, I will just deal with it at shoulder length or longer. Probably longer. Because I used to have really, really long hair when I was younger. It used to be like almost down to my hips. I don't think I would do that again. But definitely not like a bob or anything. Not, because I've gotten my hair cut that short before and I have loved it. But I think it's worked really well on me, and now I kind of associate it with like losing your sense of self, which is sad, but it's just kind of what happened. But yeah, that's been like my biggest, and it's been really, really helpful to find solidarity. Like I have some pregnant friends. Oh, there's a helicopter. It's actually an ambulance copter. So it's kind of funny because I'm scheduled to give birth in July, which is, as you Scandinavians probably know, it's the vacation month. So everyone everyone of working age basically is on vacation in July. And that unfortunately includes a lot of doctors and midwives are on vacation in July. So what happens is there are these districts around Tromsø. So Tromsø is like the biggest city in the Arctic Circle. And we have a hospital here, and it serves the entirety of Northern Norway, which is a huge area geographically. So usually a lot of the other like smaller, I don't even know what to call them. They're not cities. They're not, some of them are villages. So I guess villages, places where people live, I guess, they are serviced by local midwifery units. Oh, I forgot to make one, so I have to tink back a little bit. They are served by local midwifery units, and normally women who live in those areas, they go there to give birth, obviously, because it's closer to their home, so they can just drive there and everything works out really well. But then in July, these units close because they don't have enough staff to actually keep them open, right? So what happens then is all these women who live hours away from the hospital now have to come to the hospital to give birth. And sometimes what they'll do is, like, if you live a certain distance away from the hospital, like, you will just have to come early and stay in the hotel that's attached to the hospital, so that when you do go into labor, you are just right there, and the doctors can just admit you when you are ready to be admitted. But there are also women on the island. We live, not just the island, but Tromsø is like an island, and then we have a little bit of the mainland, which is also kind of part of Tromsø, and then we have another island. It's called Kvaløya, that's also part of Tromsø. So the people that live in these three places, they go to the hospital. Oh, those seagulls, I hope you can hear me over them. I do have a mic, so let's hope it picks me up better. Yeah, but the people that live in those areas, they are supposed to go to the hospital. And now you have all these other women. Oh boy, the one on our roof is talking to them too. Well, you have all these other women who are supposed to go to the hospital. And so you have more women than normal who are going to the hospital to give birth to their baby, and you have even fewer staff than normal because the staff at the hospital are also taking their vacation in July. So there are very, very few who are there on hand to help you. And that's one of the things that I'm a little worried about, is that I will go into labor and we will just be overwhelmed, essentially, because a lot of women are scheduled to deliver their babies in the hospital in July, and there aren't enough staff. And that did happen last year. And it was quite tragic. There were some bad outcomes for women and their babies. So that had me really, really worried. And I think that because it was so bad last year, they've done some real readjusting to the staff and to how they will admit women, so that it's better this year, at least hopefully. Because that had me really worried. And so that's kind of on top of all the other things that I am anxious about, like how am I going to feed this kid? And like, oh my goodness, what if I like forget everything I know about infant CPR the minute she needs it? Or, you know, just things that I'm generally worried about. And it's also like, I don't know, like those of you who have been pregnant and who have had kids before, at least from what I read, it's like, it's pretty common to be afraid that you are not going to be a good mom. Like, I don't know if that's just like a human thing that like you, I mean, obviously you don't have practice if this is your first, and it's my first. So I'm also kind of worried about that. I'm like, am I going to be a good enough mom for this kid? Like, you know, that selfless, like moms just kind of, they would do anything for their kid. They would die for their kid. They can get like superhuman capability, like they can like lift cars off their children. And I'm just like, will I be able to do that for my kid? Will I, you know, be able to show up for her in the way she needs? And, you know, will I be able to, I mean, not only create a safe environment for her physically, but also like nurture her development and her confidence, and, you know, in a world where, I mean, she's a girl, right? So like, even though we do live in a very progressive country with gender roles, and, you know, she doesn't have that much really to be afraid of. Like, will I be able to equip her with the skills that she needs to battle random societal things that will come her way? And then also, like, she will be, like, Kevin is native Swedish, but I mean, I'm obviously not European descent. So she is going to be a little bit of a minority. And, I mean, I know, like, even growing up in the US, when it was, like, so diverse, I kind of felt like the odd one out. And she might feel even more that way, because Norway is still a very predominantly white country. So I'm also worried about that. I'm worried about, like, will she have to deal with anything from the other kids, from, you know, jerks, like, all these things that it's like, can I, like, am I strong enough to protect her from this? Or, like, what do I do? Or, yeah, it's very, very overwhelming to think about, like, you essentially have this job to be, I mean, I don't even know, it feels like a job to be a superhero almost. And I'm like, I don't know. It's not that I don't know if I'm up for the task, because I would love to be, but it's like, am I capable of doing it? I don't know. Yeah. It's a lot to think about. And then also, like, I've been, like, it's like, oh, okay, milestones, right? And I think it's because I'm a very, like, I like controlling things. I'm a very, like, we plan things out, Kevin and I. We are big planners. We don't like to do anything that, like, without thinking it through. So we're very, like things that we can't control, like, for example, milestones for her, or, like, you know, things that will happen to her that are outside of our control, like with school, with society. It's just very, very hard to, like, accept that we won't have the ability to control everything. And then obviously she's going to be her own person, and we live in a time of social media, and, you know, just all these fears that parents have. And it's like, maybe it's just, like, because I know she's about to be here, and obviously you don't need to worry about, like, any of this stuff when they are newborns, but it's just got me spiraling. So that's always fun. I'm on a row right now in my knitting where I have to make one left and make one right between every marker, which is why I keep looking down so much, because it's going to be a kind of ruffly skirt, right? So, yeah. And also I've noticed, I pointed this out in one of my Instagram posts the other day. I've noticed that, like, when I first found out that she was going to be a little girl, I was very insistent that I wasn't going to pigeonhole her into gender norms. I wanted to, and obviously the way that this was channeling itself at the time was through clothing, because I was knitting her clothes. So I figured I wanted to knit for her in more gender neutral colors. I wanted to knit her patterns that weren't so kind of ostentatiously girly. And now, as I'm into the third trimester, I've noticed I've been knitting her so many more girly patterns. Like, I say girly, what I mean is like stereotypically girly, right? Like, think ruffles and like pink, purple sparkles, like flowers and like very, you know, what you would associate with girly, traditionally. Yeah, is the best way to describe it. And I've been thinking about where that change has come from. And I think a lot of it just has to do with my own style. So I feel like I like to wear very traditionally girly clothes. I mean, I don't like to I don't wear a lot of ruffles on a daily basis or anything. But I think that like the way that I dress is more traditionally feminine. Like I do like wearing soft colors and fabrics and skirts and, you know, I like doing my makeup and my hair and I feel like I'm very girly with the way that I express myself. And I feel like that's kind of been not taken away from me, but like I'm unable to do it the way that I want to right now because my body does not look the same. So I'm kind of channeling it into her and her clothes, where I'm like, I'll see something really, really cute and dainty in a child size and I'll be like, oh, I have to pick this up for her. And you know, like I'll see knitting patterns that are like very, very like what I've been going for at this point of time with baby patterns is like very classic stuff. Like think Peppa London, or you know, things that like the royal family kids would wear when they were small. So not like girly like unicorns plastered all over it, but more girly like this is very cute and quaint and put together for a little girl. Like that's kind of what I have been going for. In terms of patterns. And I've even been designing my own. So yeah, more to come on that later in the actual podcast. I don't want to give too much away. But yeah, I obviously will be conscious about what she does not want to wear and do and stuff when she gets a bit older. But for now, I don't know. I just kind of, I feel like it's a way for me to, like it's an outlet basically, to create the kind of fashion that I want, because I don't feel like I can make it for me. Like I've been having a hard time knitting for myself because I cannot wear the things that I knit right now, and I don't want to knit for a pregnant belly because I won't be pregnant for much longer, hopefully, knock on wood. I mean, knock on wood that everything goes okay, but like you know, I'm 35 weeks and change. Like I don't want to knit, like I wouldn't even finish it probably before I'm not pregnant anymore. So yeah, I don't feel like knitting for me. So I'm mostly knitting for her. And it makes me happy to knit traditionally girly things. And I figure like if that's what makes me happy now, and you know, she's so young when she's going to wear this stuff, like I'm making it all in like 6 to 9 months to like maybe a year max size. This dress actually, I forgot to mention, this is in the 12 to 18 month size, just because that's how much yarn I had, and I don't really want to have a lot of leftovers, so I just figured I would make like the largest, or yeah, the size that I could with the yarn that I had, and I had 4 skeins of it, so I'm making the 12 to 18 month size. But in like everything else that I'm making for her and like the other like cute dainty stuff, it's all like 3 to 9 months, basically, is the sizing. So at that point, she really won't have an opinion on the style of clothing she's wearing. So I figure it's fine to just make what makes me happy. And I'm well aware that I shouldn't get too precious about it, because she is going to make a mess all over everything that I have made for her. Probably I made her a little coming home outfit that I showed you guys in an earlier podcast episode, and I'm almost like I don't even want to change her into it until she's like ready to go in the car seat, because I don't know, I'm aware she's going to make a mess on it, but it's like minimize the mess, I guess. And with all the other handmade stuff, like I do want her to wear it. I want her to like be in it for a while, but it's gonna take, I think it's still gonna take a little bit of like convincing myself that it's okay that she makes messes in it, because I've like, it's one of those things that I guess you don't really process until you like have a kid. Like I know that there are going to be spit ups and diaper changes, but do I practically know what that means? No, I do not. So it's like we'll get there, and then we maybe will be more okay with her messing up all the nice clothes, which is fine. It's fine. It's meant for her to live in. So it's just what babies do. Yeah. And I don't mind washing knits. It's okay. I actually kind of like the smell of the soap that I have. I actually, that's one of those things I need to look into. I need to look into a new baby soap, or like wool soap that's like baby friendly, because I use the Eucalan wool wash, and I don't know if that's necessarily baby skin friendly. So that's like one of those things I have to figure out. I know it's like a no rinse soap, like they tell you if you use it you can just leave it in, but for all the baby knits that I've made and blocked so far, like I have used it, but then I've like rinsed it thoroughly afterwards, just to make sure that there's nothing still left in there, just in case, right? But yeah, it would be nice to have like a really, really sensitive skin friendly, baby friendly wool wash that I can use for her and not have to worry about is there residual wash in or I guess on these clothes that I've made for her. And also like the stuff that she has in her wardrobe from other people that's like hand wash only, because she does have some nice clothes that I was gifted at my baby shower that she is, yeah. There are so many bikers in this place. I don't know if you can hear the motorcycles, but there are so many motorcyclists. And every time like a motorcycle or a helicopter goes by, it just sets off the seagulls. Oh, it's such a change of scenery living here from living in the States. I never thought that I would be pregnant in Europe. It's just a very different experience than what I was expecting, but here we are. And obviously, like, I'm very happy that we have the system that we do. We've had great midwives so far. We've had good doctors. They seem to like really respect your birth plan, especially if you're opting for a more natural birth, which I am. So I'm cautiously optimistic is how I would describe it. But yeah, that's where I'm at in the pregnancy journey. So I have gotten like 2-3 rows done, so not that much on my knitting, but we've talked a lot, so thank you so much for joining me. I hope that you were able to get some knitting done too, and I am just really excited to check in with you later about how everything has been going. So yeah, if you liked spending time with me, please go ahead and like this video and subscribe to my channel for more. It really helps me out. And as always, if you want to come over and say hi, you can find me over on Instagram and Ravelry as The Strikk and on my own website, thestrikkachick.com. Until next time, you guys, happy knitting. Bye.